When there is no apparent hope, people stick to all kinds of measures. I reminded him of Jesus' words, "Your faith has healed you," and advised him further, "When you wash your face with pure cold water next time, you might be surprised." People observing this kept praying and thanking the Lord, while also making the sign of the cross. That man believed that he had sinned against the Lord, and therefore he was stricken with blindness, bypassing all possible natural causes. I could not wait to see him happy with his restored eyesight. A woman was presented to me who was in absolute agony after having a double cystectomy, but the medical procedure she went through may have been a botched job. I was not sure whether it was due to cancer or the removal of implants. However, seeing a woman in this state was heart-wrenching. Obviously, she had no means to be treated properly, and was therefore putting all her hopes in the Lord. The sister offered prayers and blessings to her, when she heard my voice, although I did not speak in Tagalog, and in her dialect, she shouted as it was interpreted to me, "My Lord, my Lord! Surely I'm hearing the voice of my Lord. Bless me, Lord." When she saw me, she forgot her excruciating pain, and wanted to get down to kiss my feet, but I could not accept this act of worship. I told her in a whisper that I was not who they thought I might be. I was only a visitor from the down-under land. Many did not take any note of what was being said, once again proving how desperate some people are. As can be seen from this occasion, which was also clearly recorded at the time, the lady in question later claimed her pains were miraculously eased for the very first time ever. After a few more people with various problems had been treated and prayed over by the sister and congregation, there was an intermission. We waited for a while longer, everybody in the church hall expecting the sister and her helpers to come out and continue with the program. But one of her assistants came out, specifically asking me if I could see the sister in her chambers, just behind the altar. Feeling obliged, I went in to see her. She was extraordinarily exhausted, and her helpers were gathered around, praying for her recovery. She had clearly passed out, or was deeply asleep. It was so clear that they wanted my input towards her speedy healing. Some were attempting to prostrate on the floor in front of me, others saying, "You are the Lord in disguise," or at least, "You represent him." How could one react to this? It was puzzling. I told them to distance themselves and stand in a circle closer to the walls, and extended my arms over her sleeping body as I did once in Perth with Merva after her car accident. I felt, or so I thought, that there was some form of energy building up, and interestingly, all gathered therein felt something electrical in that instant. I cannot or will ever claim to be a miracle worker, but I know there are so many thought energy-based unknowns. This has nothing to do with spirituality, faith, or any belief in the Lord, but in something unique and universal. It is something physically available to all humanity, something we are a part of. I have directly experienced it, but have no explanation for it other than the existence of a possible portal into another time and dimension. I closed my eyes, visualizing her getting better, her health fully restored, and her body being energized with universal energies. I have seen her, in my mind, getting up healthy and more alive than ever before. Again, it felt as if I was transported into a healing or recovery room with the person in need to recover. Then I suggested that her helpers leave the room with me for about 20 minutes, and she would wake up completely restored. I even asked one of them to announce to the congregation that the sister was well again, and would soon come out to see them. Edita and her brother remained seated in the hall, probably absorbed with the whole experience. Just as I suggested, the sister got up, fully recovered, and spoke to the congregation. Her healthier self was apparent. She spoke about how the Lord worked wonderful miracles, and offered a prayer and blessing, and thanked me for the healing session. She suggested that we must celebrate this tomorrow with the usual people, and said we were to have real fun. Edita was thrilled, but remained completely speechless about my position, for such a lot of attention was being given to me, the foreigner, as she declared, by her behavior. It was not my desire to gather worshippers anywhere around the world. Although she did not say anything, one could see her ardent wish that I received a lot less attention. The next day we attended that specially planned celebration, and people brought many things, including food items, to share with each other. Many coins were collected and mixed with large amounts of rice, which was to be dropped from the roof of a large tin shed to the people down below as a blessing from the good Lord, and to assist the needy at the end of this ceremonial occasion. I took part in it, and also extremely cautiously dropped money and rice grains to people, which either I or the sister have filmed using my video camera. The large crowd was so happy to receive this great blessing as they considered. If I was able to make people feel happy on that occasion, I would also feel very happy. Even if it was nothing more than offering a piece of bread to the poor, or a comforting word or two, which made them think positively about themselves, it would make me feel fulfilled. Just to see people smile makes me feel good, for I know that I am surrounded with joy and happier thoughts when they are happy. In truth, we can all be surrounded with positive thoughts if and when we so desire. It is one of the nicest things in life, wanting to be happy and healthy, no matter what life circumstances are like. Unfortunately, there are also people who prefer to remain with thoughts of doom and gloom, constantly wrapping themselves in negative energies. That in itself is destructive to life and man's progression. The sister was more than willing to help me capture some of the scenery while I offered coins and rice to the needy. Then somebody from the crowd approached me, saying in part American, "You have to be the Blessed One. We have seen that bag being all empty, but you are giving us more than what was inside it." "You have special gifts," said the sister. "Look how happy they all are." Later, seeing me allegedly blessing these poor people on video was very emotional when I watched it back home. One could see how much appreciated my visit was, but although present at the time, Edita's behavior and facial expressions decried otherwise. She looked totally disgusted with the special reception I was given. Without any prejudice, and only observing her facial expressions and attitude, it was evident that she obviously did not desire to see me getting such attention. I hoped that Tony did not think of me as an attention seeker. I did not desire to be misunderstood, for I never wished to be put on a pedestal, to be adored forever, and have never attempted to do so. I felt a great need to talk to him about this issue, and explain that these people would react to someone else similarly. He appeared to see my point of view. However, he said softly, "But you are still different. Maybe the good Lord has chosen you. Look how happy they are." Edita's behavior following that event spoke volumes. One could almost read her thoughts. They were so blatantly obvious. How was it at all possible for someone like him, who had visited those people for the very first time ever, to be immediately accepted by them and given such high respect? Surely he could not have deserved it. Who did he think he was, making himself the center of attention? Why was somebody like him, without the higher cultural background, like us, so important? Was the state of her observed attitude due to my supposedly owing her money she hoped I would give her then and there? I suppose I had to remain the low grade, not as highly intelligent, and probably even an untrustworthy person she might have preferred to think of me, and someone not paying her personal bills, as hoped. I had a very downgrading lecture session from Edita before this trip, which she conveniently forgot, but perhaps she was remembering it now, for I had delayed a certain payment demanded of me due to my inability to work from home, as she advised me that her house should not be used like a workshop or studio, even though initially it was her suggestion that I could do so if I moved in. All these thoughts spoilt the scene, once more making me feel uneasy and regretful about this trip. It was a very sad state I did not want to dwell on for long. One could not help but think that she felt very disappointed with her endeavor of luring someone naive enough to fall into her trap. She needed someone to take care of all the other expenses of her new home, such as laying carpets or buying Japanese-style furniture, apart from paying her bills. After waiting for such a long time and nothing was happening, she was disillusioned, very unhappy with me. Therefore, the attention given to me on this occasion was a little too much, as far as she was concerned. No matter how much she tried to deny the situation, and no matter how I avoided thinking like this, I could not help myself from considering the facts in the face of realities I directly experienced. Repeating my words, if what I was doing or saying to these people was helping them feel better, I would feel fulfilled and happy. I suppose Edita might have been thinking that somebody from the local community or race, like her for instance, would be better. Someone of a lower grade like me, as some people popularly considered, as it was by my ex-wife, and now by Edita, should not have been in my position, let alone being noticed under any circumstances. I just had to be someone who was lacking in intelligence and finesse. I could not understand why I had to be treated like this. Recalling the times I wasted when I was forced into being associated with Jehovah's Witnesses, was there anything to learn from it? I do not wish to judge others wrongly and always wish to see beauty in people, but in this instance I could not ignore the plethora of non-verbalized words streaming from her mind. I could not disregard her facial expressions and body language, but I was going to ignore it once again, and attempt to forget it for the moment, although I wished that my observations were not completely right. However, later events after my return home forced me to conclude that my interpretations were right all along. Certain elements of emotional dullness observed about her person suggested that perhaps we were dealing with some other important issues without naming them. While still in the Philippines, I could not help but ignore her ungainly attitude. A short while later, it was suggested that I visit a place where a certain heavenly phenomena occurred, when Mother Mary and Lord Jesus made appearances, and pilgrims from all over the country frequented the area to witness the event. Large crowds were gathered, leaving no room even to breathe, and we needed to walk quite a distance over a winding pathway. On arrival, we discovered memorabilia and religious paraphernalia being sold in a tightly packed marketplace, with many sellers hoping to make some money. The blessed water was yet another novelty here, Many came to wash themselves in the holy water, believing they were going to be freed of all their troubles and sicknesses. Others preferred to obtain bottles of it to take to their relatives, and yet others chose to drink it for its healing properties. I was asked to stand where Jesus and Mother Mary made appearances in the sky. Some asked me to describe the energies I felt when standing there, and a few others looking in my direction attempted to bow in reverence, making the sign of the cross. As I walked down, some people approached asking me to bless them. Others wanted to take pictures of me with their small cameras, although I specifically asked them not to. Tony approached me, saying, "Before many more people come here to see you, it is better that we leave this place soon." There were others who were selling alleged images of the heavenly phenomena to the pilgrims and curious visitors. Imagine now what those people with some manipulative means could do if they would have taken my image. I believe some had already done so. I was happy to have witnessed people with so much hope in their hearts. They were at least uniting with their ideals. I was happy to leave the holy grounds, as I did not want to be put on a pedestal due to my exotic appearance and personality, as I have often been described. Later that day, and on the following one, we went to see the oil-crying statues of the Madonna and the Christ, and were offered sweet-smelling oil, which became solidified after several days. They normally offered small pieces of cotton wool in plastic bags to people, but we received special attention. Those cotton wool pieces were usually dipped into the holy oil. If people so wished, they could rub them over the uncomfortable parts of their bodies and expect a miraculously speedy recovery from their inflictions. Tony told me that in the past he has felt the immediate benefit of using those cotton pieces after applying them to his forehead, and the excruciating pain was no more. I thought that maybe one could use it for its pseudo-medicinal effects on people back home. In relation to this occasion, I was asked to visit a holy shrine, which in truth was a large grotto attached to the front of a house, and to pray for the speedy recovery of a young man who was paralyzed from neck to toe, and had been bedridden for a long while. Visitors were often encouraged to offer donations to his family living in the house. This lad had been electrocuted during his schooling at one of the university campuses while studying electrical engineering. Upon their discovery of my visiting the grotto, they immediately invited me in, and I went in with Tony, who was asked to sit in the family room with them, while I was requested as a special guest to enter that young man's room and offer him blessings. Sadly, he was lying there, motionless, and I was told I could talk to him in English, and that he would understand me well. Alas, once again, it was so clear that I was the hoped-for or expected one, making an appearance in their midst, and therefore a single word from me would heal him. They were desperately begging me to bless him and the entire family. Feeling obliged, but happily, I spoke to him about psychologically important and very positive issues, encouraging him never to give up hope, and he might be surprised. He smiled. Seeing him smile for the very first time since the devastating accident, his mother and sisters shouted in excitement. He has never been able to smile other than just staring at the ceiling. As I was leaving his room, we all heard him shout, calling his mother, "Mother, please bring me some water." They were all filled with awe and shouted in excitement, "We have seen the miracle of the Lord this day." Then they brought a little baby crying bitterly and asked me to put my hands on the baby and he would be healed. I put my hands on the tiny head of the little one, caressing him gently, and the baby looked up at me smiling and giggling. All the screaming ceased. They said the doctor was unable to help the child, and I was apparently the only one who could. I did not know what was ailing the poor baby, but was immensely happy when he was healthy again. They all raised their voices as in a choir, "The Lord has touched us again." Another said, "You must be the one, for you have cured the inoperable ill of the child." A few more people began to make appearances, and many more were staring through the windows. I was in shock and astounded when an old lady with a bald head approached me, asking others in the house to bring her wig. While putting it on, she said a few words in their native tongue, while another interpreted, saying, "She wants your blessing too." I put my hands on top of the wig, and the old lady too shouted with great joy, attempting to get down to her knees to kiss my feet, which I could not allow, and invited us for a feast. Tony, witnessing the event, looked surprised, as if he had seen something miraculously unexpected. They offered us fruit juice and wanted us to remain as their special guests to dine with them, but we declined. While going home, I told Tony that obviously people needed to hear some comforting words to boost their trust, and they were certainly generating very positive energies there. All the people who had met us wanted me to return and bless them again in the name of the Great One. After the demanded blessing session, the elderly lady got up and went into their kitchen, leaving the gathered feeling utterly excited and praising the Lord. One told us that she had not been able to walk for a long while, and now look what has happened. If I have been able to make these people think positively about themselves, and if it has helped them in any way, I can do naught else other than feel happy. I thought that Tony may have felt uneasy about the attention we received, but they were also thanking him for bringing his good friend to bless them. Hopefully it made him feel good as well. When we left, we could still hear people utter words like, "It is a miracle. It is a miracle of the Lord." I certainly did not expect a reception like this anywhere, particularly in a country like the Philippines, and the shock I have experienced would probably last for a while. By visiting people and experiencing something as unexpected as this, I wondered if I have been the catalyst towards an event which might somehow have helped people overcome their problems. However, I could not pretend to be the second coming. It was time to move on.